Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Dropout Book Club. My name is Josh Mullins. I am here to lead you on this path to glory and victory and enlightenment and salvation. A little bit about what we're doing here. The Dropout Book Club was created because I believe that majority of the issues that we have today, and there are lots of issues, can be solved if people were more educated. And the facts are that people do not read. When they don't have to read, they don't read. According to a recent Pew Research Center study done on January 3rd, 2018, 24% of American adults haven't read a book in the past year. And other statistics cite that majority of Americans read 4 books or less a year. And over 50% of Americans read 4 books or less a year. Now, if you put that in perspective, your average CEO reads 1 book a week. So that's almost 52 books a year or more. A lot of the time they'll be reading upwards of 60 books a year. And you look at the average difference between a CEO's pay and what your average American worker is earning, there's a huge disparity. So people think it's oppression, and people think it's many different reasons why that is the case. I believe it could really boil down to education. And with many other things, we leave education in others' hands. And I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that we need to rely on public schools or colleges that are indebting people by the thousands to be enlightened. I think we can take it into our own hands, challenge ourselves and others to learn and grow, and we can solve a lot of the problems that we have in the US and a lot of the problems that we have elsewhere just by educating ourselves. So that's why I'm creating this podcast, so that we can all educate ourselves together. And what the plan is I'm going to read a book every 2 weeks, and we're going to cover it. So it'll be about 26 books a year. And this is more of a challenge to you. Read the book, come back to me, we'll talk about it together, send me some questions, and then we can all learn and grow as a society together. So this week, the book that I am reviewing, and I'm going to be reviewing all different types of books on a broad number of subjects, because I don't think that learning should be closed into a box. So this book that I'm reviewing this week is called Rhinoceros Success. It is the secret to charging full speed towards every opportunity. And Rhinoceros Success is about building a mentality of charging into all areas, but it's really about taking every moment, living it to the fullest, and moving towards your goals with focused intent and thick skin. And I know, me personally, I have trouble doing that in different areas, and so I'm sure everybody else does too. So a book like this can't, obviously it's not going to be a guide. It says the secret. I hate books that say the secret of anything, because I don't believe there are any secrets to anything. There's no, hidden formulas or algorithms that's going to bump you up. It's just a matter of doing a few key, consistent actions over time that builds you up towards whatever goal you're looking to attain. So I'm going to dive into it a little bit. It's a very short book. It's only 100 or so pages, so you could read it in a couple days. It covers a broad number of subjects, but it doesn't go very in depth on anything. It just kind of touches on a few different areas. But he talks about what it's like to be a rhinoceros, and how you can apply these rhinoceros principles to different areas of your life, financially, to your work and your career, to your family, physically, to your health, spiritually, and in different areas. So talking a little bit about that, I'm just going to cover a few key points. First, what does it mean to be a rhino? Well, in his definition, being a rhino means that you are conscientious, you're driven, you're focused, you have thick skin like a rhinoceros, so that if something hits you, it's not going to hit you and alter your course or slow you down. You are still going to be charging full speed towards whatever area of life you're looking to attain a goal. And to be a rhino, I think you have to know there's a higher potential in yourself, and know that there's a higher potential. When you reach a higher potential in yourself, you can incorporate a higher standard for yourself, a higher standard for your family and for your community. And not only do you know that, but you believe that that potential is there and you can achieve that potential. So he does a sharp contrast between a rhino and what he calls a cow. Now, what does it mean to be a cow? A cow is someone who, I think a cow is someone who settles for less and doesn't believe that success is for them. So we all have cows in our life, probably more literally and figuratively. People that when you set your gaze onto a higher star, they want to knock you down and tell you that that's not for you. And the reason they're telling you it's not for you is because they never believed it was for them in the first place. So because they don't believe that success, they think people are born into success. Because they were not born into success, they don't think you were either. And so they want to knock you down. But that's why you have to have thick skin, keep moving towards the areas of your life that you want to achieve. And the author, Scott Alexander, is guiding you out of the pastures, if you will, and into the jungles to seize your greatest potential. So with this podcast, what we're doing here, we're trying to read a book every 2 weeks. So if you read a book every 2 weeks, you can't necessarily take everything out of that book, implement it in your life, and change your whole existence. Because let's face it, that's just not realistic for anybody. But what I like to do is at least take a few pieces and start implementing it right away into your life and just see the changes. Because I believe that most books, no matter how many pages, you grab your average book, it's 250 pages long, you're probably only going to find 3 or 4 different nuggets in that book that's going to help you really move forward in your life towards a higher potential. So a couple pieces of this book that I thought was helpful for me, or at least kind of opened my eyes to a different way of thinking. There's a lot of different little tidbits in this one, but he talks about on page 19 that rhinoceros do not make a habit of watching TV, nor do they spend their mornings reading about crime across the country. They let the cows in the pasture fill their naughty minds with negative aspects of life. So why is that important? Well, it's important because your time is valuable. You don't want to waste your time watching things and immersing yourself into something that's not even really necessarily relevant to you and your life, to your present, to the people around you, because the world can be falling apart on the news every night, but you don't necessarily see that in your regular life moving forward. So they're projecting a negative onto what you're going through, even though it's not necessarily relevant to your day-to-day activities. And another reason, if you were to spend an hour watching TV every night, that's in a 1 year, 365 days, that's over 9 40-hour work weeks spent a year in front of the TV, where you could have been spending those work weeks doing something way more productive with your time. Now, you have to, when you're thinking about time, time isn't necessarily just minute to minute or moment to moment, but when you're thinking about time, you should think about time with a dollar value attached to it, because your time is worth something. You're never going to get time back. So if you're being paid $20 an hour, or if that's how much you think your time is worth, you're spending 1 hour a day in front of the TV for a full year, that's $7,300 of your time that you spent watching TV. Or essentially, your Netflix or cable bill would cost you about $600 a month. That's the value that you're placing on Netflix or whatever else you're sitting in front of the TV, your YouTube, your cat videos, your PewDiePie, whatever you guys are watching out there. So with that being said, would you be willing to fork over $600 a month to Netflix? Yeah, me neither. I'm not into it, not so much. So think of how important your time is. Fill your time with more positives. The news is toxic. News cycles and Twitter today are totally toxic. I think it's important to stay informed, but to start your day with toxicity and negativity is only going to put you in a negative frame of mind moving forward, because your day is going to be filled with micro crises after micro crises and small problems that you're going to have to be ready to fix or ready to solve throughout the day. So there's no reason to waste your energy worrying about the macro crisis of what's going on in the world or what's going on in politics or what's going on in the economy first thing in the morning. Focus your energy, move forward, and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish so that you have the energy to do so. Another reason why not to watch the news in the morning is because the news might not necessarily be the news as we see it. If you were to go to Steven Pinker's TED Talk, you would see that in almost always life is getting better for people across the world, not just here in the United States. But that doesn't make for good news, and it's not juicy enough to hit the press. Another key point that I found in this book was on page 30. He talks about tracking your progress, which I think is essential, because if you never track your progress, you don't know if you are making progress. So if you pick any area in your life and find a way to track it logically, don't say, oh, today I feel better than I did yesterday, because that is arbitrary and it's nothing that you can really track over time to make sure you're on a upward scaling line. This will help you determine your progress, and not only determine your progress, but determine your actions moving forward, and help habituate you to doing things that will move you towards your goal rather than away from your goal. According to an American psychological study done in 2015, it suggests that progress monitoring improves behavioral performance and the likelihood of attaining one's goal. Other studies suggest you are twice as likely to attain your goal when you track your progress. So if you have something you truly want to accomplish, track your progress, study your movement, and make sure you're heading in the right direction. And lastly, like I mentioned before, put a dollar amount to your time. This will help you really determine if something's worth it. The TV, the movie that you're going to go to, whatever it is you're going to do with your friends. You're going to sit around and tell jokes and fart and smoke weed, whatever it is you guys do for a living. Put a dollar amount to your time and really decide what you value and what you want to do more moving forward. And really, to tie it all together, what I think Scott Alexander is really trying to say, to summarize, is to focus on your tasks at hand and charge full speed and persist to the end. Track your progress, not letting your problems slow you down, because problems are a sign of progress. And problems really are a sign of life. If you had no problems ever, that just means you're not trying to do anything difficult in your life, and you're not growing as a human being. So take problems as a sign, as a positive sign that you are moving forward, you're progressing. Value your time. If you don't like your current career, plan your escape. And remember, rhinos make a great sales animal. So get into sales. Lastly, build success habits, read and listen to history to learn from the past. So, Rhinoceros Success, pick it up, read it, and most of all, this isn't a end-all be-all on how to be a great person book, but it will cover a lot of broad topics on the surface, and you might pick up something that'll help you become a better person. And that's all. If you take one thing out of any book, it's worth it. So that is going to be the end of this podcast, the first Dropout Book Club podcast. Hopefully it gets better as it goes. I'm going to intend in the future to bring on different people, read books with them, and then discuss the book with them. Bring on subscribers, bring on people like authors if possible, and really dive in deep on some books and try to learn and grow, because as a society we can learn and we can solve problems, but we can't do anything if we don't educate ourselves. And so lastly, subscribe, like, share, and leave me some comments and some feedback on how I can improve. Different books you guys would like me to review. I'm open to reviewing almost any book. I'd love to learn. I'd love to grow. And I'd love to do it with you guys. Next book, 2 weeks from now, September, it would be the 10th. September 10th is going to be The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Really great book. Super simple content, but if you apply it to your life, it could make a huge difference. Once again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys again in 2 weeks.